Imagine a couple in their early 30s. She's a project manager making $65,000 a year. He's a software engineer pulling in $68,000. Together, that's $133,000 a year. Sounds like they should be crushing it, right? But, well, they're exhausted, living paycheck to paycheck. Their savings? Barely a couple months of expenses. The other week, their washing machine broke. They had no choice but to put it on a credit card. Why is that happening, though? Well, what if I told you that having two incomes, earning more than most people, could actually make you financially weaker? I'm Jack, and I help people spot the hidden traps in personal finance, the ones nobody talks about. If this resonates, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how your second paycheck could be vanishing before it even hits your bank account. Let's start with something most of us grew up believing. Two incomes equal double security. One person making $50,000 can support a family. Two people making $50,000 each? That's $100,000. They should be living comfortably, saving, investing, maybe even splurging a little here and there. That's the story we've been sold. And for decades, it sounded logical, until people actually started studying it. Enter Elizabeth Warren. Back in 2003, when she was still a Harvard bankruptcy law professor, she and her daughter Amelia Warren Thiagi wrote a book that shook this whole assumption. They looked at over 2,000 families who had filed for bankruptcy, and what they discovered was shocking. Families with two incomes were actually more likely to go bankrupt than families with just one income. Think about that for a second. Working twice as hard, bringing home two paychecks, and still more vulnerable than ever. But how is that possible? How can doubling your income make you financially weaker instead of stronger? Well, the answer isn't about bad decisions. It's a systemic trap built into the way modern families earn, spend, and plan. And most people are unknowingly standing right in the middle of it. And if you don't understand this trap, that second paycheck you're counting on could be doing less for your family than you think. Maybe even nothing at all. Let's take a quick trip back to 1970. Back then, about 43% of women were in the workforce. That means the typical middle-class family had one main breadwinner, usually the father, and one parent at home, usually the mother, running the household. And most people don't realize that single income was enough. Enough to buy a median-priced home, cover healthcare, transportation, put food on the table, and even save a little for emergencies or vacations. Families had margin. They had breathing room. If the primary earner lost their job or got sick, the parent at home could step into the workforce. That was a built-in safety net. They didn't need two incomes to survive, because their expenses were in balance with one. And that balance gave them flexibility, the ability to handle surprises without going into debt. The single-income era was thriving with breathing room. Now, compare that to today, where two incomes are the norm. The landscape has completely changed, and that breathing room? It's mostly gone. On paper, we're doing better than our parents, right? The median household income back in 1970 was about $33,000. Adjusted for inflation, today it's around $74,000, almost double. And yet, somehow it doesn't feel like double. Why is that? Well, median home prices in 1970, inflation adjusted, were around $200,000. Today, about $400,000. Healthcare spending per household has skyrocketed, more than 600% since then. Childcare, which was barely a factor back then, now costs the average family $11,000 per child per year. College tuition? Up over 200% since 1980. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If we're making more than our parents ever did, why does it feel like we're broke? The answer isn't fancy vacations, expensive cars, or designer clothes. Most families aren't blowing it on luxuries. No, the second income is being swallowed by the skyrocketing costs of just participating in middle-class life. Every extra dollar you earn doesn't necessarily buy more freedom. Often, it just keeps you in the same financial place, covering costs that were smaller for our parents, but now consume both incomes. And you might not realize, but earning more can sometimes make you feel poorer, not richer. Yeah, let's break this down with some numbers, because seeing it clearly makes it hit differently. Imagine partner 1 makes $70,000 a year. Partner 2 brings in $50,000. Together, that's $120,000, right? But let's focus on that second income. What actually happens to it? First, taxes. Because of progressive tax brackets, the second income often gets taxed at a higher rate. Federal, state, payroll taxes, you're looking at 30 to 35% gone right off the top. Next, childcare. Average daycare costs about $15,000 per child per year. Then comes commuting and car costs. Gas, maintenance, depreciation, easily $8,000 per year. Parking? Add another couple thousand. And don't forget the convenience and household expenses. 2 working parents means less time for cooking, cleaning, errands. Hiring help, ordering meals, using services, that can easily eat another $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Add it all up, and the net contribution of that $50,000? Sometimes as low as $2,000 a year. Think about that. $50,000 income, netting $8 per day, $1 per hour. Working full-time for barely anything. And most families don't even realize it. They see the $120,000 on paper, make spending decisions accordingly, and assume they're secure. Unlike families in 1970, you don't have a backup plan. There's no stay-at-home parent who can step in. There's no breathing room. Every dollar you earn is already committed to keeping the household running. That's why 2 incomes can feel so secure until they aren't. And once that extra income disappears, the whole financial house of cards comes under pressure. According to a 2019 Federal Reserve study, nearly 40% of American adults couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. That's almost half the country. And many of those people are in dual-income households, making solid money on paper. That's why 2 incomes can leave you more financially vulnerable than a single-income family that plans wisely. Then what's the solution? How do you escape this trap? It starts with something I call the one-income foundation. The idea is simple. Structure your household so that all your essential expenses can be covered by one income alone. That way, a second income isn't required to survive. It becomes discretionary. And what do you do with that discretionary income? Savings, investments, debt repayment, building real wealth. Treat your second income like it's optional, not guaranteed. Build your life around one income, and you'll never be at the mercy of unexpected events. It's about freedom, not just money. Because when your life can survive on one income, that second paycheck is no longer something you spend to stay afloat. It's something you invest in your future. And compounding that second income can create real wealth faster than you think. Every dollar grows, earns interest, and then that interest earns interest. That's compounding in action. Within 5 to 10 years, that second income can produce more than a paycheck ever could on its own. And the best part? The psychological benefit is huge. Peace of mind matters more than fancy vacations or designer things. Knowing you've built real flexibility, that your life isn't tied to every single paycheck, that's wealth you can't see on a bank statement. Having a backup plan that lets life happen without sending you into a panic. That's what our grandparents had with a single income, and it's exactly what modern families have traded away chasing bigger things. But what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see how to make your money work harder, check out the $10,000 rule strategy.